Hello. So, I've fairly recently featured this cover on YouTube here. It's not my favorite cover, but my favorite animal. I mentioned in the previous video that my favorite cover is the one with the fly, even though I prefer bears to flies. But the caveat that I mentioned has to do with this. I don't know how well this is gonna show up pretty good. So, they never if there's a proof copy or an arc or whatever out there of this book, I hope to find it one day because you can kind of see it. It's the purple base and the just outer space uh, background there. No matter how the Andalite looks when it's fully turned whichever way, um, that background cover is beautiful, and so that stands a good chance that it would be my favorite cover if it had been released. It was not released, and sequentially, Megamorphs comes between the Stranger and the Alien, so I don't know if they were advertising that one because it fit in with the numbered ones, and they were going to do Megamorphs, but they weren't showing it or whatever. I don't know. I'm not an insider, unfortunately, but they never did. But so I wish I could get that. I did read. I in the other ones I didn't read the chapters at the end that advertise the next book because I was just going to read the next book. But in this case, I did because I'm not going to go up to Rochester and read The Alien after this, because the whole point of this particular rereading of Animorphs was just the relaunches, just to see if I could detect changes made to update them, make them hipper for the kids of today. But no, I'm not going to do that. But I am free to, whenever I want, just pick up an Animorphs book because I've already read them sequentially, and so I could explore the David trilogy again just for fun. But anyway, talking about The Stranger. Now, if I was in charge of plotting out the Animorphs movie series, my first thing would be to try to compress the first however many books, say 12 or 15 books, into 3 movies, and the foundation of those 3 movies would be the invasion, where they first get the power to morph, they first attack the Earth pool, Tobias gets stuck, the message, where they find Axe, and the Stranger, which introduces the Ellimist. And it is the most interesting version of the Ellimist, who gets less interesting as the books go on. But they are, of the first 10, I think the most necessary and also the easiest for anyone trying to reorganize the stories and use as much as possible. The easiest 3 overarching stories to pluck bits from the other books and put them in there so that they are represented, but don't necessarily have to have their own movies. I mentioned in the other video, since if it, I mean, I'm not even sure that it's going to happen, but so far it is more likely that there will be an Animorphs movie than an Animorphs streaming series. So that's where my mind was when reading them this time through. And I think that at least the first 3 Animorphs books would have to foundationally be based on the invasion, the message, and the Stranger. So the Stranger, finally getting to actually talking about it, features 2 big questions for Rachel, and one of which she shares with the other Animorphs. The one that she shares is the one the Ellimist poses, which is, would you rather stay and fight the Yeerks and lose, or I can take you and members of your family and select other humans to another planet where you will be safe and you can, restart the human race there, and Earth will be lost anyway. That is the question that he poses to all of the Animorphs when they are more or less inside a Taxon. And the Rachel one, the one that's just Rachel, that is potentially solved by that question, is her father is moving a long way away, 1,000 miles, I think it's said, into another state. It's we can't tell you where we are or who we are or where we live, so it doesn't say which state. but because it doesn't say what state they're in, but 1,000 miles away from wherever they are, which is near a beach and a zoo. And it has a governor. Her father's going to take another job far away, and he wants her to come with him. And one of the perks, not just more time together, but one of the perks is training in gymnastics with a coach who might actually get her somewhere in gymnastics. And she's a little bit she's notably not tempted by that, I should say. And she's repeatedly, and others, well, she's repeatedly said in these books, in her own book, in The Visitor, that she's too tall, and she doesn't actually have an ambition to, go the distance as a gymnast. She wants to use it, being her gymnastics classes, to fix her what she describes as clumsiness. She doesn't like putting on exhibitions, she says, like the one that Tobias crashes in the mall in his book, The Encounter. But her dad, who is a gymnast, who I think he went quite a ways with it before, I guess, becoming a news anchor or a reporter, and then an anchor. He still thinks that that's a selling point to get her to move. But, she's a child of divorce. Spending time with him is really all the sale that she needs as far as selling moving with him. But it also means spending a lot less time with her sisters and with her mother. And her mother says, "This is up to you." And I don't know that her sisters are brought in on it at all. But so those are the big questions posed. And again, if they go off to another planet with the Ellimist and their family goes, that includes her father. And they probably don't still live together, but it's not like he can move far away. So that's part of the temptation for her. And she also says in this book at one point that someone says, "But you're the crazy reckless one." She says, "No, I'm not. I do that because I feel like I have to, but I don't want to do that," which is an interesting kind of "you've got me wrong" moment that I think is perhaps the first such moment in these books that she feels misunderstood. And not the last one of those for her. So those are the main, and then of course there's the mission. The main mission, what they are, the reason they go down to the Yerk pool and get eaten by the Taxon, and what they ultimately end up doing, which solves their problem for them, is they want to figure out where the Cantonaut is, the small portable version of the Yerk homeworld sun that is hidden somewhere in the city, so that the Yerk pool can be charged with Cantonaut rays and be used to recharge the Yerks themselves. They want to find out where the Cantonaut is so that they can destroy it and deal a blow to the Yerk invasion. And they, ultimately do. But that's quite a scene that it's a very surprisingly inspiring ending to an Animorphs book, the way that this one ends. But the most interesting thing that happens is they are shown a potential future, which is one of several potential futures that are shown throughout the Animorphs series. And in this one, we meet an adult version of Rachel. And I forget, I think it might have been The Predator, when I was reading that, and Marcos says that, he's not saying this to anybody, he's saying it to the reader, says that he feels like Rachel, if she could, would put on armor or something and go out as a knight. And immediately I thought of Gwendoline Christie as Brienne of Tarth, and to a lesser extent as Captain Phasma in Game of Thrones and Star Wars respectively. And I just thought, wouldn't it be so much fun if there was a movie that centered on the stranger, that had that scene where young Rachel meets adult Rachel, and adult Rachel is played by Gwendoline Christie. I think that would be the best possible cameo in an Animorphs movie. And the Animorphs movies, if they come to pass, would probably be chock full of great cameos, in no small part due to the fact that a lot of morphing happens. and aliens have to take on human form. And there are very, very, very many one-off, great, but one-off roles. The woman that Visser 3 morphs in the episode, or the part where Tobias is finding out his parentage, that would be a great cameo role for somebody. So yes, that's one thing that I was picturing as I was reading this book. When I got to that scene, I thought, Gwendoline Christie confronting. I've always thought of Elle Fanning as my ideal casting for Rachel. So I've pictured Elle Fanning facing Gwendoline Christie, her older self. So yeah, those are my thoughts as I was rereading The Stranger. I've said this before. I'll say it again. The way that the troubles of all kinds of kids, the genuine real life troubles of all kinds of kids, are mixed in and enhanced, but commented upon and made easier to understand by similar science fiction-y troubles is very good in these books. And the one faced by Rachel here, whether or not to go with her father, if they don't take the Ellimist up on his planet offer, and abandon the fight and abandon her friends, tempting proposition that it is, but then compounded by the possibility of leaving the planet, is a great combination, makes for some great introspection. Also, this book, I mentioned the ending scene being particularly uplifting for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but I always feel like it's kind of serene, the image of the elephant pushing the Cantonaut out of the building. But early on, when she goes and she acquires the bear morph, and just on her own, she decides to turn into an owl, fly to a bear cage, and acquire the bear morph. That's something that's one of the few things that has stayed with me, one of the few very specific scenes in an Animorphs book that has stayed with me since I read it the first time, way back when. There was something else I was going to say, but I forgot what it was. I mentioned when I did the message that when I do a sequential reread, to whatever extent, the message is the first book that I actively look forward to rereading, and this is the second. I really like this one. Oh, what else I was going to say? One thing that I missed, and I understand it's differently designed. The cool thing is on the cover, but the original design of the books was you had 5 stages of morph, and then there's a little window around the face of the animal, and then you open to the first page, and the first page is a photograph, an edited picture of that morph in whatever context of the story. And I just loved the image in the original edition of the 7th book, where the image is an elevator, and there's a bear, a gorilla, and a tiger going up, essentially. So that is one thing that I've missed with these, but I also have that copy of the book, so I can look at that any time that I am upstate. So that's that. Those were my thoughts on rereading this, and this will be my last Animorphs for a while. But maybe I'll revisit one in a couple of months. Ram the Blade Ship.